Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking how some seemingly innocent, everyday routines might just be quietly sabotaging your cognitive health. You know, we're always thinking about protecting our hearts, our lungs, our joints, but how often do we really stop and consider the daily wear and tear we're putting on our brains? So let's dive into the science behind the daily habits that are silently aging your mind, and more importantly, what you can actually do about it.
Here's our roadmap for today. 1. Your aging brain. 2. The screen time trap. 3. Diet and substances. 4. The stress factor. And finally 5. Protecting your brain. Let's uncover these hidden dangers and learn exactly how to fight back.
Now, when was the last time you thought to yourself, oh man, I can't eat this because it'll ruin my brain health? It's kind of a surprising question from our source material, right? It really forces us to realize we almost never consider how our daily actions impact our mind's longevity. I mean, we might skip dessert to keep our waistline in check, sure, but we rarely view our daily choices through the lens of cognitive preservation. To understand why this matters, we have to look at the data. And the research reveals a pretty startling fact. Your brain volume naturally declines by around 5% every single decade after you hit age 40. 5%. That is a baseline biological reality for all of us. But here's the catch. That 5% is just the natural course of things. That's assuming you aren't doing anything to actively make it worse.
Which brings us to Section 1. Your aging brain, the invisible decline starting at 40. We need to understand that this 5% baseline decline isn't the whole story. In fact, it's really just the beginning.
Because the crucial point here is that your everyday behaviors can actually hit the fast forward button on this natural degeneration process. The choices you're making, from the second you wake up to the minute your head hits the pillow, can actively accelerate how fast your brain ages. It can literally turn a natural 5% decline into something much, much more severe. Moving right along to Section 2, the screen time trap, how TV and media rewire your mind. We live in this era of endless streaming and constant digital connection, right? But this modern convenience actually comes at a very real cognitive cost. Get this. A massive, long-term study tracked 3,200 adults, starting when they were, on average, just 25 years old. Researchers followed them for over 2 decades. Fast forward 25 years later, and they discovered that high TV watchers, which they defined as anyone watching more than 3 hours of television a day, were highly likely to perform poorly in mental function tests compared to those who kept their TV time low. So yeah, what you do in your 20s can quite literally hurt your brain decades later. But we also have to acknowledge the compounding factors here. High TV consumption rarely happens in a vacuum. Prolonged television viewing almost always goes hand in hand with physical inactivity and eating junk food. Think about it. You're sitting on the couch, you're not moving your body, and you're probably snacking on something. It's basically a perfect storm of bad habits that collectively assault your brain health. And this brilliantly illustrates another modern media trap. We love to think of multitasking as our modern superpower, right? Like we're these productivity ninjas somehow cheating time by doing 3 things at once. But a Stanford University study proved reality is actually quite the opposite. Researchers found that heavy media multitaskers actually suffer from poor concentration, ruined memory, and they even have a harder time switching between tasks than people who just focus on one thing at a time. Turns out, constantly dividing your attention isn't a superpower at all. It's a cognitive flaw. Okay, let's shift gears to Section 3, diet and substances. What you consume shapes your brain. Because what goes into your body doesn't just affect your internal organs, it actually shapes the very physical architecture of your mind. First up, let's talk about food volume. Studies indicate that overeating actually accelerates mental decline. On the flip side, a lower calorie intake is widely recognized as essential for a long, healthy life. Now, don't get me wrong, the goal here isn't to starve yourself. The actionable takeaway is simply that swapping high-calorie empty meals for lower-calorie nutrient-dense foods is absolutely vital for your cognitive longevity. Now, what's really interesting is how substances play into this. While some claim marijuana has 0 negative effects, a fascinating study published in the Journal of Neuroscience found that young adults who smoked marijuana experienced actual physical changes in their brain structure. Specifically, it altered the amygdala, which controls your emotions, and the nucleus accumbens, which is the center for reward and addiction. These structural alterations leave young smokers much more prone to drug addiction and unpredictable emotional shifts down the line. Furthermore, the source is even more explicit when it comes to cigarettes. Beyond all the well-known risks to your lungs and your heart, cigarette smoking has actually been proven to physically shrink the brain mass. I mean, just think about that for a second. The physical size of the organ that houses your memories, your personality, your intelligence is actively reduced by smoking. Let's move to Section 4, the stress factor, the heavy toll of unexpected life events. We've talked a lot about the choices we make, like watching TV or smoking. But what about the things that just happen to us? For years. According to a chilling report from the Alzheimer's Society, experiencing high levels of stress can age your brain by up to 4 entire years. When you go through major unexpected life events like a severe accident or suddenly losing your job, the chemical cascade of stress takes a profound, measurable, and really heavy toll on your neurological age. Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, Protecting Your Brain, Actionable Steps for Cognitive Longevity. Let's pivot away from the doom and gloom and focus directly on the actionable solutions provided in the research. Because while we can't always control the unexpected stressors that enter our lives, we can absolutely counter them. The research highlights 4 fantastic, proven ways to combat stress and protect your brain: meditation, yoga, walking, and regular workouts. These aren't just good for your physical body, folks. These are essential maintenance routines for your mind that literally help clear out the biochemical waste left behind by stress. Before we wrap up, I want you to be mindful of a few other rapid-fire hidden saboteurs from the source. Things like a chronic lack of sleep, the isolation of lacking a social life, consuming a diet that's way too high in salt, and heavy drinking. Just remember, any single one of these can quietly chip away at your cognitive longevity over time. So as we conclude this explainer, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. Take a really honest look at your own daily routine right now. Which of these hidden habits is aging your brain today? Are you maybe spending a little too much time on the couch? Are you letting stress run unchecked without a physical outlet? Evaluate your day and consider what small, simple changes you can make today to protect your brilliant mind for tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining me, and stay sharp out there.